This afternoon already then. We're gonna be doing another top 10 video. Don't worry, no gameplay, just I have to be on a game screen, and this is my like go-to game to sit on the screen of. I don't particularly know why. I think it's just because I like the Danganronpa music. I can kind of drown it out. But regardless, this isn't a Danganronpa list. This is a list of the top 10 stoner icons. So, let us jump right into the list. Before I get into it though, I didn't go through the trouble of making like honorable mentions or whatever because there's a lot of stoner icons. These are the 10 that stick out to me the most. If you have your own stoner icons, let me know in the comments below which ones you thought I should include, and I could possibly do a second, third, maybe even a fourth video of stoner icons. But we're gonna jump into number 10, which is gonna be Jay and Silent Bob. Now technically, and that is why this is called 10-ish, technically some of these people count as 2, or even sometimes more than 2. So that being said, this is a little bit more than 10 people, but it's 10 like sets. Like, you don't see these people apart from each other usually. Now Jay and Silent Bob, for those that don't know, were more or less kind of like Cheech and Chong or Harold and Kumar. They were the iconic stoner duo who got into a lot of hijinks. They had the movie Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back. It's actually a pretty funny movie. These guys always stuck out to me as a particularly unique pair, simply because of the dynamic between them. And I also wanted to include them because, like, me liking older content, like, older movies and whatnot, I know these guys a little bit better. But anyways, we're gonna jump right on to number 9, which is all 4 members of the cast of Half-Baked. Let me just tell you, like, Half-Baked was one of my favorite stoner movies. Brian in particular, I thought about just putting Brian on here, but then like Thorogood is also kind of funny. Kenny and Scarface did not stick out to me as much, but they still are very funny characters, and usually when I think of pot and pot movies, Half-Baked is one of the first ones that comes to mind. That being said, it's a bit of a toss-up because, like, most of the people on this list I know for a fact smoke weed as people, like in the individual person, but I don't know if any of the cast of Jay and Silent Bob or the cast of Half-Baked actually smoke weed outside of movies, which is why they're a little bit lower down on the list. Anyways, we're gonna move on to number 8. This one's gonna be a little bit controversial, not because he doesn't smoke weed, just because of something the actor did. But I try not to hold things that, like, if there's a character in a show and the actor does something terrible, it doesn't automatically make the character terrible, in my opinion, because that character is supposed to be someone separate from the person that is actually playing them, unless they are doing a part where they are specifically playing themselves. If it is basically somebody acting just like themselves on set, in my opinion, it is not acting. It is just somebody likes your personality enough to think it's movie acceptable. But anyways, the character is Hyde from that 70s show. The actor, for those of you who don't know, is Danny Masterson. We aren't going to go into what exactly he did to put him on this sort of like we don't talk about Bruno list, but yeah, that's all I'm going to say for that one. anyone who's seen that '70s show has plenty of explanation with him just being on the list on why he's on here. But for the people that would be offended about, the Danny Masterson thing, we're just going to leave it at, he's on the list, high it is, not Danny. So the next thing that we're going to move on to, and again, this is a little bit like Jay and Silent Bob and Half Baked, except the next two are people from movies that, like, I don't know, they kind of made stoner movies, in my opinion. So, I don't know, we'll see if you guys agree. It is Sean Penn playing Jeff Spicoli, holy crap, from Fast Times at Richmond High. That was a lot harder to say than it needed to be. Honestly, you've seen the movie, you know, like, who this guy is. And for those of you who don't really know, this guy pretty much embodied, if not even created, the stoner stereotype character in movies. So, I feel like it would have been criminal not to have included Jeff Spicoli. And then, of course, as I said, the number 6 one isn't terribly different because I don't know much about the actor either. Rory Cotrain. I don't actually know how to say that, but he's playing Ron Slater from Dazed and Confused. And again, same deal with Jeff. The stoner stereotype is really embodied by this character. And we could go on and on and on about characters who embody the stoner stereotype. Jesse from Fast and the Furious, counts as, identifying as a stoner stereotype. So, yeah, but he's not on this list. We're gonna move on to someone I can talk a little bit more about because I do know for a fact that the guy smokes weed personally, and that is Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen, almost no matter what character he's playing as, seems like a stoner character down to a T. The voice alone is a stoner icon in and of itself. Seth Rogen has one of those voices, instantly the moment that he talks, that is Seth Rogen talking. It can't possibly be anybody else. But more than his voice, roles like Pineapple Express really sold the whole weed smoking stereotype. Pineapple Express, as far as I know, the concept of a crash joint did not exist. English is fun. Before the movie Pineapple Express. And for those of you who don't know what a crash joint is, it's basically two joints. One joint is a little bit fatter than the other and has a hole up towards the top, not right on the top, but about right where you would put the line in for a lowercase t. And you have that second joint that you slide in, which also has a hole. You want to slide that into the first hole, and you want to make sure that the hole, again, it has to run through all the way on both of them. You want to make sure that the hole is facing towards, obviously, you know, one's facing towards your mouthpiece and the other's facing towards, like, you know, whatever's burning. And then obviously when you get it finished, it should look like a cross if I've explained it right and you have rolled it right. And then you light what you're probably going to need a second person for this, but you light all three ends at once, and that's why I say you're going to need a second person, because I can't flick a lighter with both my hands. Like, I can only do it with the one hand. My offhand, I can't do it. So, like, I would have to light one end at a time. Theoretically speaking, in order to get it to burn just right, you at least should light both ends of the actual cross piece at the same time. But yeah, it is impossible unless you can light a lighter with your toes and you're that dexterous for you to light a cross joint with all three ends at the same time. Well, maybe. I mean, I guess you could make something like a match, something kind of like a match candlestick, where your piece of the cross joint would be, and just kind of light those and stick it up there. I don't know. Here I am having stoner thoughts and getting way off track. We're gonna move on to number 4 before I continuously get into this like cross joint deep hole here. The next person on the list is Willie Nelson. Like, rappers, there are plenty of rappers known for smoking weed. Rockers are known for partying all the time. But with country singers, rarely do you ever see them like openly support marijuana as much as Willie Nelson. There's even the Dukes of Hazzard movie where Willie Nelson is playing a stoner version of Uncle Jesse. I had to think of what his name was, and that's kind of sad because I used to love the Dukes of Hazzard. Not that specific movie. I mean, don't get me wrong, the movie's, you know, alright. I grew up on the actual Dukes of Hazzard TV show. But Willie Nelson's role in that movie, it really helped kind of like put him into perspective for me on the whole like weed smoking thing. I actually didn't realize how much this guy supported pot until watching this movie, and then I figured out that this guy, you know, he made it on this top 10 list as the number 4 spot. So, you know, maybe you would think that he needs to be a little bit lower down. I would disagree. He's 80 some years old or whatever. I don't even know how old he is anymore, but he's only recently switched to eating edibles, so you got to give the guy credit. Before we move into the number 3 spot, I need just a moment. Alright, sorry about that. Moving on to the number 3 spot. This is somebody that I don't know personally much about, only because, like, I didn't really get into rap growing up, and I do listen to rap a little bit more nowadays, but, like, when this guy was more popular, I wasn't really listening to rap so much, and whereas, like, you could say he's still popular, I don't really hear people talk about him as much anymore, and that is Wiz Khalifa, who some would argue deserved to be even higher up on the list, because he does have the Khalifa Kush, which I don't know if that he's named after Khalifa Kush, or if Khalifa Kush is named after him. I don't know the origins on that, really, but again, I don't know much about Wiz Khalifa, so I won't touch up too much on this person. I do know that he is a very successful rapper, known for smoking weed. You know, I all through high school, I didn't really hear a whole lot of people talking about. Uh, I think I said that wrong. I didn't hear a whole lot of people not talking about this guy, and every time that they talked about this guy, weed was usually involved. Um, Honestly, it was a little bit hard ranking these top three because it came down to like this guy who only made it in the number 3 spot because I personally couldn't talk very much about him. He might make it up in the number 1 or 2 on yours, or you might agree with my number 1 and 2 spots, because if you know a lot about smoking weed, you're probably thinking like, okay, why aren't, you know, these people popping up? Well, number 2, we have the iconic duo of Cheech and Chong. Now, Cheech and Chong, I'm gonna admit, were like my stoner iconic duo. They, you know, growing up, when it came to smoking weed, I didn't want to be like Jeff. I didn't want to be like Seth Rogen's. I didn't want to be, you know, even like Matt Riddle or whatever. I wanted to be like Cheech and Chong, because these guys always had such goofy movies. There was rarely like a Cheech and Chong moment that didn't make me laugh, or at least like make me feel relatable with the guys. Also, they're pretty iconic actors too. Everything from, you know, I've seen Cheech and Spy Kids, I've seen Tommy Chong and That 70s Show. You know, these guys, not only were iconic stoners with their own, like, you know, movie sets, and a lot of people I know, like, have seen Still Smoking, but there's a lot. Still Smoking is like one of many Cheech and Chong movies. I know for a fact there's at least 4 that I've seen, and I doubt that that's all of them. Also, Cheech and Chong, like, I don't know. There's never been a duo quite like them. That's smoked weed, like Harold and Kumar, or even Jay and Silent Bob. Cheech and Chong are like, if you picture 2 stoners together, chances are 9 times out of 10 these guys are who pop up in your head. My final pick, even though I have mentioned a couple other stoners here and there, and even though Cheech and Chong will always be like top dogs in my opinion, and it's kind of funny I use the word dog there, we have Snoop Dogg. And you guys might be wondering, like, where's Matt Riddle, and where's Harold and Kumar, and where's, again, I could have done this list 10 times over probably with iconic stoners. These are the 10 that popped out to me personally. I probably will end up doing another list, but, you know, a little bit more down the line when I have, like, you know, you guys can throw some more stuff at me, like who you want to see on the list, rather than me just kind of digging it out of my own hat. I am definitely not going to touch up on, because I could go for days and days and days and days on why Snoop Dogg is the GOAT of weed. But to save everybody some time, myself included, because I do have to, you know, get some stuff done. I have to work tonight, unfortunately, go figure, on one of my favorite holidays. Obviously, I still needs to celebrate the holiday a little bit more. We gotta wake and bake in, but it's time to eat some munchies and get back out there and celebrate up until work. But I did want to do this list. I had actually made well, I had started making this list last year for 420, but I was way too busy on 420 of last year to do it. And so I waited a whole year just to finish up making this list and do it. Because I wanted to make sure I posted it on 420. I had actually debated on what I wanted to do with this day, because there was one video I had considered making instead, but I went with this one because this one people can relate to a little bit more. The other one was kind of personal. My story, Doki Danganronpa, which, funny enough, I did not mean to like slide that in because of what's on the screen, but it kind of popped up. I was going to make a list of like who smokes weed in Doki Danganronpa versus who doesn't, because Doki Danganronpa is kind of like a headcanon for me. So it's more or less like I'm going through the Danganronpa cast and guessing, do they smoke weed? And how often do they smoke weed? Are they hardcore stoners? Did they try it once and not like it? Did they, do they smoke weed periodically? Do they only smoke weed when there's others around? Do they never smoke weed? Do they swear it off? But again, I decided not to do that video because that one is a little bit more of a personal preference in terms of like, I would more or less just be upscaling my story. I could end up doing a list like that, but again, I probably will post that on 420, and I doubt it will be tonight because I work at 2 o'clock. I don't get off until 9. It is hard telling what I'm going to get into after work, but before work, I still have to grab a bite to eat and get my clothes downstairs, celebrate the holiday, and text everybody and make sure like they know to celebrate for me when 4 o'clock hits, because I'll be at work. I might be on break though. I might get lucky because my boss sends me on break usually somewhere between 2 hours and 4 hours of me being there on a typical day. And if I go 2 hours in, then I should be on break at 4:20. I would only be able to hit my pen on break, unfortunately, because even though marijuana is legalized for Ohio now, it is not like acceptable for you to take it to work. And that is where, like, I don't know, some people need to learn the difference between legal and acceptable, because when my brother figured out weed was legal, the first thing he wanted to do is go smoke a joint in front of the police station, which, like, I get it, it's legal now, but that's not really acceptable, is it? Like, you possibly could get in trouble for it with the right cop, depending. I don't know exactly how the laws work. Me and my uncle were just talking about this, and I will talk to you guys a little bit about this, because I'm sure if you're watching a weed related video, you do kind of like get into the legalization shit a little bit. I don't know much about how the legalization works, and neither does he. We're trying to figure it out, but like, for starters, obviously I kind of pointed out to him that just because marijuana is legalized for smoking, it probably isn't legalized for independent like selling, because the government has to make their money, their taxes, off of something that they have chosen to legalize. It's kind of like a catch 420, because it's different numbers. I don't know what the numbers are. That's why I filled in 420. But haha. Anyway, they legalized it, which helps us not go to jail, but in terms of that, we almost have to pay an extortion racket, like, in order for this to remain legalized and, like, you guys not go to jail, you also have to pay taxes on it. Which, you gotta pay taxes on everything. You know, it's not, you know, my uncle seems to think it's like some big corporate scheme or whatever. Taxes are on everything, except maybe like food and drinks, or at least that was a thing at one point. As far as I know, that's still a thing, but as you might be able to tell by the fact that I don't know much about the legalization, I keep up with the law a little bit. I was really good at government in school, but like, you know, laws change a lot since then, and ever since it's not been a requirement for me to keep up with it, the sad thing is I haven't really kept up with it. And that's probably a mistake on my behalf. I really should. Because, in my opinion, the only person that should know the law better than a police officer is the person getting arrested. And that might sound stupid, but like, even a cop will tell you it is their job, their duty, whatever word you want to use, it is up to a cop to make sure that you know what you're getting arrested for. But yeah, legalization in terms of like selling, I don't think you can sell it still. Growing, also, I'm not sure how the legalization works now. Are you, because I knew that you was allowed to grow a little bit already, but like, are you just allowed to grow however much you want now, or do you still have to like have a limit on the amount of plants you can grow? Or not necessarily the plants. I don't remember if it's the amount of plants you have, or the amount of weight that there is to the plant, or that's something along those lines. There was some kind of limit on it, and I don't know what it was, or if it's gone now. But you know, that's something that's nice to know. Another thing about legalization that's kind of, you know, which way is it gonna go, is like, since marijuana is not illegal anymore, could you sue your workplace for firing you for smoking marijuana? Probably doubtful, because you can't sue them for, you know, drinking alcohol, but you also can't get a medical excuse for drinking alcohol. You can for marijuana. And then there's like, there's some things I do know about it, like if you get pulled over and you're stoned off your ass, then that is still going to be a driving under the influence charge. However, a question that my uncle raised, and one that I hadn't really thought of before, is how do they know? Like, are they gonna start carrying around drug tests with them to drug test you for weed every time they pull someone over, like a breathalyzer? Or are they going to make like a weed breathalyzer where it can tell them if you've been smoking, how much you've smoked, stuff like that? Or are they just supposed to take your word for it? You know, they pull you over, your eyes are a little bit fucking glazed over or whatever, and you tell them like, look, I'm tired, I haven't been sleeping, and I just, you know, that's it. Can they take your word for it, or do they have to, you know, what's the rules there? There's also, like, my uncle brought up paraphernalia. Because, you know, bowls and rolling papers, whatnot, you get pulled over, do you still catch a paraphernalia charge even though marijuana is now legal? Because in one way, it's not fair if they arrest you for having paraphernalia when marijuana is legal, because that's all you're doing is smoking marijuana. On the other hand, if you have paraphernalia, they can't necessarily prove, I don't think, without doing a bunch of like DNA testing and all that, or not even DNA testing, like, but like something like DNA testing, you know what I mean? Like that really in-depth like test bullshit. They could probably figure out like what exactly you've been smoking if they wanted to sink the time and resources into that, but do you really want to do that for every single like arrest that could or could not be like marijuana related? So the legalization thing, it really does, and like as much as I have been on the side of legalizing it does come with its complications. There's going to be a lot of bumps and whatnot to get through, and I'm sure a lot of things are going to fall through the crack. Sorry, you might be able to tell. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice or not. I know you definitely heard it over the microphone. I think I actually sneezed on it. I've got a cold. It's not like a really bad cold or anything like that, but I do have a cold. It's kind of bugging the crap out of me. Huh. Anyways, I am gonna get off of here for a couple reasons, one of which being I'm missing my pen. I'm gonna go looking for that. Secondly, again, I do have things I gotta get done before going to work, such as eating and you know, celebrating and all that. But before I get off of here, and usually I do say, you know, like leave a comment, whatever, let me know how you like the video, but this time I have a special request for you, for any stoners that do like get into the legalization talk, because as you might imagine by how many like videos I do and whatnot, I like to talk. So let's talk. You know, you got a view that is aligned with what I've been saying this whole time about legalization. You know, feel free, if you already know like some of the answers to these questions that I have posed, please by all means explain it, because you know, I'm not the only one who's wanting to know this information. Like I said, my uncle and my dad, we actually have been talking about it a lot, the three of us, which I did just say my uncle earlier. My dad has been there too. It's just I talk about almost everything with my dad, so that isn't really so much of a clarification. Like my uncle, when me and him talk, it's usually about something important or something relevant, and it's just I don't have a whole lot of time to go and talk to people in person, so when I do, I talk a lot. And as you might have noticed, like I've wanted to start doing more YouTube videos. I said I was going to, but I haven't had time to actually own up to what I want to do. So YouTube videos have been more consistent than they were in the past. They went from me almost never uploading to I'm uploading a couple times a month. And I'll probably get more and more into it if I can get more free time. It's just finding that available time is tricky. I have now almost searched my entire room twice for this pen. At this point, I almost have to admit defeat. That is half the reason that I haven't ended the video yet. Is like I'm just more or less talking while I'm looking for it. But yeah, I was gonna say that's gonna have to come to an end here soon. And it is. I couldn't find it, so we'll just end it there. Thank you for tuning in. Sorry for making this video like 15 minutes longer than it needed to be. It's weed day, so come on now. Anyways, and I know I say anyways too much. I'm Clark. Hasta la pasta. See you later. I hope you have an awesome day. Don't forget, comment down below. Let me know what you think on legalization, what you think of the video, what you want me to do next, anything like that. Feel free to comment. You can subscribe if you really want to see more content or whatever. I'm not gonna push you into like subscribe. If you want to see more content, subscribe. If not, then, you know, this is a video that I'm just kind of glad that you stumbled across for once. So, anyways, hasta la pasta. See you later. Goodbye.